All right, folks, thanks again for tuning in this week. I am excited. I have an out-of-town guest. I'll tell you a little bit more about him in a minute, but again, the goal here on the Here We Grow radio show is simply to educate you and keep you informed with the best and the brightest, not only here locally in our community, but across the states and across the country. So what we're going to be talking about today is something that I think you are going to see a lot and get a lot of value out of, just like we do each and every week on the Here We Grow radio show. And this week is no different. We have a good buddy of mine, Jeremy. Jeremy is from the Atlanta, Georgia area. He is the owner of Pink Gorilla Roofing and Chase Homes. Jeremy, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So tell the people out there listening a little bit more about the business that you're in, and let's focus for right now on the Chase Homes and what you're doing with some of the home remodel and the building of what you have going on.
Yeah, so pretty much with Chase Homes and Chase Designs, we have a boutique brand. We appeal to clients of all times. Pretty much, if it's in the four corners of a lot or your property, it's something that we can handle. Whether it's building pools, landscaping, renovating a bathroom, kitchen, all the way to tearing a story off, adding 3 stories, going front, back, side to side, or even building your new home. $2, $3, $4, $5 million home.
And then that kind of led you into, and I know that another passion of yours is this, the roofing side of the business. And with Pink Gorilla, tell people a little bit about of why you jumped into that business, because, and it's funny, folks, for those of you that know, we got some pretty harsh weather here in Michigan. Jeremy's driving from the airport and we're getting ready to go to lunch, and he's like, Mike, you would not believe the amount of potential clients I drove past. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, the roofs are atrocious up here. And we just started laughing. So tell people about the Pink Gorilla and really where that came from.
Yeah, so like as far as the roofs go, it's kind of you put stuff out in the universe, you start noticing it everywhere. So yeah, I see missing shingles from like 3 miles away now, like an eagle view. But so yeah, even when I got into the building side, I kind of established with wanting the mission statement of contractors have a really bad rap across the country. Being shoddy, not following up on their work, hard to get in touch with, disappearing, overcharging, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So when I got into business with Chase Homes, originally CNC was the parent of all that. It was just about breaking the mantra of, what the stigma people have about contractors. And there actually are good contractors out there that can bring value, do great work, and also stand behind what they do and be around 10 years later if things go wrong. So what I kind of realized is you can't, when I got in business, I wanted 100% client satisfaction. I realized real quickly that that's not always the case because, there are human beings out there. Some people you just can't make, they'll never be happy. So I kind of turned that into, I can't promise, well, I guess I'll back up. So when I stopped doing all the work myself and I started having to deal with subcontractors and other people, again, other human beings, I realized that, promising that they were going to be there on a Saturday night or a Sunday night or stay till it got done, that stuff wasn't being followed through with. So I had to realize that, I'm now making promises for other people. I may be willing to go to those leaps and bounds and follow through.
Right, because you want the 100% clients that are happy, but the guy that you're employing or that you're asking to come out and do the work on your behalf, they may not have that same opinion.
Exactly. Our standard, it's like, again, I've talked to a lot of guys, they say they work every day a week. I'm like, okay, cool, you work on Sundays? Like, I don't work Sundays. So you don't work every day of the week.
Right.
6 days a week.
Right.
Yeah, I work every day. No,
if you're not coming on Sunday to help us, you're not.
So, go ahead.
And then that kind of leads me into, this general contractor area that people out there that are listening, what should they be looking for, paying attention to if they're right now, if they're looking at hiring somebody like a Chase Homes and they're interviewing, or heck, right now, the economy's booming right now. It's like you can call and like, hey, can you come and fix remodel my bathroom? Like, yeah, I'll get you on the schedule for 3 months from now, right? It's that kind of craziness. So what should people be looking for in a general contractor?
So it kind of moves into both, right? For roofing and for general contracting. And to kind of jump back into the roofing company real quick. Kind of the same stigma, like, there's a lot of fly-by-night people that are selling roofs, they're in, gone, knocking on doors, and they just want to make the money, move on. So we want to be around and we want to be a legacy type of brand. All my companies have my kids tied into them. I'm a single father, so long-term, longevity, and reputation is important to me. So the biggest thing that I try to sell, you talked about speed. So even on roofing, a lot of times you go in and the local roofer or whoever it may be is busy for a year when you have some serious storm stuff go down. So we try to install in a week or less. a week or less from initiation of contract or approval or whatever the process may be. And then we're starting to sell lifetime warranties, and not even sell them. We're starting to provide lifetime warranties on workmanship. So like we want to be, hey Mrs. Jones, we not only want to be your roofer today, we want to be your roofer for life. So about being around for a long time, providing sense and well-being to people that may have water coming into their home, they've never dealt with that before.
Sure.
But knowing that, hey, 5-6 years from now, when they call you, you're going to be there. And that also flows into the general contracting, home building, whatever. There's a lot of guys out there that may be operating off bottom lines and only 10% margins. And I've watched a lot of these guys as I've grown up through the business, and they just don't know how to run business. And they're usually not going to be around 5 years from now because they think that they can operate off of a 10% margin or only charge a 10% fee, but they don't know how to run real business. They're not thinking of overhead, gas, whatever it may be, so they're doing all
Heck, they probably have insurance, right?
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
Like they're not going to take that 10% of profit and use 1 or 2 of it to make sure that their employees have insurance, or they even have insurance for their workmanship.
Well, so it's like in Georgia, there's no roofing licensing law, right? So you don't have to be licensed to run a roofing company, which is just an absolute nightmare.
I was gonna say, that's crazy.
So what I try to tell people, and when I'm marketing things, is like, since there is no licensing law, go with a roofer that is also a general contractor. Because you at least know they know how to build a house, they know the proper things,
Sure.
and then there's accreditation. So like my guys, sales rep, everybody goes through training. I have NRCA, National Roofing, and OSHA, GAF, which is the brand that we try to stick by as far as brand of shingles. But again, to the homeowner, like what is your contractor, your roofer, what are they standing behind? Like what are they providing? Like, what are the materials?
What would you say are the top things so if I'm interviewing a general contractor to come in to remodel my bathroom and maybe, I don't know, repair my windows or something, what should people be paying attention to? What would you say are the top 2-3 things saying, okay, this is what I'm looking for in someone like that?
So do they actually have a brand? Right? Or is it just, Joe's Hatchback Roofing, Buddy's Bathrooms,
Sure.
And, are they just a name?
So where they stand kind of in the community is
right. I mean, can you find them? Can you look them up? Do they have a
right.
website?
We're in the 21st century, right? It's like, do they have a website?
Right.
What's on that website?
Right.
What are we were talking about this earlier. What are their reviews like?
Right.
I mean, you're talking about 100% client satisfaction. Mm-hmm. It's next to impossible to get because you're dealing with humans, and they're gonna have some goods and some bads. But again, 99% of their reviews are positive, and they have a couple hundred or whatever it may be. What else after that?
But even with the reviews, I think the reviews can be shaded because, again, technology, right? So there's going to be 100 fake reviews. I think having a reference sheet that you can call on, hopefully in the area to where the work is going to be, and they can actually call and verify, and ask these people questions. And if you leave a customer happy, they're going to be happy to tell clients about the experience. Because a lot of times people are just happy to find a contractor, period. And then B, for the actual process to go as they hope. So we got brand, references. Again, reviews are great, but again, I think really you got to find human beings. So references, licenses, verify licenses, insurance, verify insurance,
So how does somebody do that? So the licenses, I'm assuming you can type in, like, we're in Michigan, so you can type in state of Michigan builder's license lookup, right?
Right.
They'd be able to find that.
Right.
How do you tell if someone has insurance? Just ask them to provide it?
Yeah, so, a lot of people ask about certificates of insurance and to provide those. But, I've actually ran into a case with a subcontractor that one of those was fraudulently done by the broker. So we're actually having to go after the broker for some stuff. But just because it's on a sheet of paper, somebody provides a certificate of insurance does not mean that they have insurance. So, you want to probably call, if you want to really do your due diligence, call, verify, make sure that insurance company is legitimate. Hopefully the insurance provider on the certificate is actually, auto owners or somebody that's bigger, so
Right,
you can actually, travelers,
right?
So that you can actually call the real company and verify coverage, not just some
Not their
agent.
office or right. That makes sense.
So and then also just on the kind of going back to the references, like how long have they been doing this for?
Sure.
Is there any physical work that they could go look at? Is there a client from 5 years ago that they can call? How do they still feel about the brand? And then again, what kind of warranties and how are they backing their name? Are they going to come back 5 years from now if there's an issue? So I'll still come back after warranty periods and look at things.
Right.
Again,
That's the difference of being a lifetime. I'm going to be your lifetime GC, your lifetime, right? Your lifetime roofer, and it's the same in our business. I mean, the financial services business, it's the same thing. How long is the person you've been dealing with? And sometimes too long is bad, right? Hey, they've been in the business for 40 years, or they've been in the business for I had the other day. I've been with my advisor for 30 years. I'm like, how much has changed in that 30 years. In their life, everything has, but the advisor is still doing the same things that they were doing 30 years ago. And look, I can tell you just from experience of building a home and doing stuff like this and growing up with this, if someone's still doing things the same way 20 years ago, everything's changed. Not just some things, everything has changed. So, making sure how long they've been in the business, too long, not long enough, right, that they're insured, right? Same thing, licenses. I mean, for us, that's a no-brainer. I mean, half the times they're on our walls or you can see where they're at, right? Now, if you're out at the contractor's coming to your home, it may just be simple as, hey, next time you're out, would you mind giving me a copy of what you have or emailing it?
And I even want better. Let's say you got 3 contractors, because there's a stigma that everybody has to get 3 estimates, whatever, which I think is nonsense. But, we bring out all that stuff to you. So whether it's in sales, on roofing, we've got portfolios, we've got an about us, we've got copies of our licenses and our insurance, business licenses, the material that we're using for roofing, the warranties. I mean, we've got it all right there, and we're handling to you nice and professional, so there's a brand and a...
I think that you said something important, and I want to skip over it, that the people know what the actual material is, right? I'm thinking out loud here is, someone comes and say, well, I can do the job, and again, you get those 3 quotes, right? Someone's got to get them. I know you say you don't, but they do, right? They get the 3 quotes, and they say, okay, well, this guy's the cheapest, and it looks to me on paper, everything's going to be this. You're both going to be remodeling my bathroom, right? And then all of a sudden, if you really break down, okay, well, what material is being used? Because the material is where a majority of the cost is going to be, and if they cut all the corners on the material, guess what?
Labor as well. I mean,
what kind
of labor. So for me, when I started the design company, I started that because architects are great artists, but there's a big gap between functionality and getting a set of plans to actual real life, especially in renovating and where things not a fine mathematical equation and there's moving parts and you're not everything's being touched. But it's like, I always tell clients now, when we put a retainer out there and we work with it, you can either pay the money now or you're going to pay it later. Like, we're not going to be the most expensive contractor. We're definitely not going to be the cheapest. But, the prices that we work out through the design phase, like, we aim for there not to be any surprises along the way. So maybe some contractor comes in at $5,000, one at 10, one at 15. Probably the 15 is the one that's probably overcharging, or again,
right.
People can charge whatever they want to. The $10,000, maybe that's where we're at, but you're going to pay $10,000 regardless.
Right.
So whether it's you get the $5,000 guy and you have to hire another guy, or you pay the change orders. We represent transparency, so we actually help, not only during the design process, we try to budget and get things figured out so that when we break ground, as much as you can in the construction project process, everybody's on the same page.
And we're not going to get those surprises, right, that are jumping in there. So when does somebody need a general contractor? I mean, what projects would you say, too big, too small? When should a GC, if you will, a general contractor, come into play if someone's doing some work around their house?
So in the age of HGTV and technology, everybody thinks that they can flip houses. Black mold is solved in 3 minutes or less during a commercial break, and the budgets, we can do this or that, and most of those teams and things are used. They're sponsored by the TV shows, and they're getting sponsorships from materials. So their budgets are ludicrous. They're not real. And then black mold doesn't get solved in 3 minutes or less, you know what I mean? And then commercial break, like, there's real issues. And be aware, just like in Georgia, there is like high moisture and high humidity. So every crawl space probably has some degree of mold. So understanding that some things are just acceptable, and then versus this is a life-threatening situation, which they want everybody to think of when they come to mold. So, if you're dealing with a project, I mean, I have a lot, the most frustrating clients are the ones that are hands-on and think they can do it all themselves. But you really use a tradesman. If you're a financial guy and you're just trying to, again, you're in the financial world and you're just trying to watch your pennies, But what could you be doing more with your time? Maybe spending time with your daughters on the weekend while you let the painter come in and paint the room.
Sure.
So sometimes people think that they're saving money and being frugal, but there's really a cost that comes with everything. So pay a painter, they come in, do a good job, they stand behind it, and then you're back to use your life. And then on the roofing side, this is when should you use a roofing contractor? A lot of insurance companies or whatever, they think they don't need it, but contractors working with insurance, we know the game. We know the nicks and crannies. We know the components, the parts. We know what insurance is going to try to leave out. At the end of the day, no insurance company is knocking on your door saying, hey, there's been storms in the area. We want to try to cover your messed up roof.
Right. We want to fix your roof. We notice your roof was bad. Can we pay to have that repaired for you?
Right.
They're not. It's like I make the joke. The IRS is not calling my clients and be like, hey, would you like to save money on your taxes this year? Like, that call's not going to happen.
Yeah, I've never been audited to refile my taxes to pay them more money. You know what I mean? Anytime I'm giving them more money, there's no questions asked whatsoever.
What are some good resources out there for people listening that they may be able to do a little bit of research? Is there like a general place? Is it specific per state? How can people find out if they're dealing with a quality contractor?
So, there's some sites like Home Advisor and some membership. There's Angie's List and some things you can go about to do for that. But again, I still think it boils down and maybe find you 2 or 3. Logo, branding, what do they stand by? And what are you looking for? Again, a lot of people advertise, our buddy CJ talked about on one of his branding things, it's like, are you Apple? Are you Louis Vuitton? Are you Burlington Coat Factory? Like, what are you trying to sell?
Sure.
And for us, it's the whole process. We're not going to be the discounted Dollar Tree. We're more going to be like Apple, but we're consistent. We're around. We're clear and transparent about what we provide. We're also not Louis Vuitton. Where we're just you've got to be the upper 1% to pay for our services.
Right. You got to redo your roof every year because it's got to be new, right?
Right. But again, maybe you only do one roof in your lifetime. Maybe you do 2. But a lot of people are only going to do one major renovation in their life. If it's a whole house, maybe they only do the bathroom every 10 years. So for them, they're spending a lot of money. And for us, $100,000 these days is not that much money to go towards a renovation with costs as they are.
Yes.
But for that homeowner, it may be the most money they ever spend on construction in their life. So it is a big deal to them.
Yeah.
So somebody that understands, because I'm also a homeowner, I've renovated my own stuff, I have flipped, I have done real estate investments, so I know, hey, like, does your contractor, are they educated with the cost and value and the ROI with what you're doing, the return, the quality of life? Like, again, when we come in, we bring every single angle to the game to make sure that your interests are protected for the long term, not just the short term.
You brought up a great point. You said the ROI. So I'm just thinking out loud, and I'd like for you to address this. When somebody's looking at doing a remodel of their home, are they looking at an ROI? And you got to ask yourself this, folks that are listening, are you looking for an ROI so you and your spouse can be comfortable, your family can be comfortable in your home? Or are you looking for the ROI of, hey, we're going to be here for a few more years and we're going to sell this place and move on to greener pastures? Right. So when that ROI question, you got to ask the contractor, what's my ROI on this, right? What's your take on that?
100%. And again, what is your purpose for this? So when I first went on my own in 2007, it was the bust, right? Most people were doing just enough to their homes so they could sell them, right? So it was all about just the
lipstick on them.
Right. They weren't worried about a lot of quality, and those aren't the best clients to have, unfortunately. Because I like to have clients that are invested. They have some emotional investment. But again, you can find, is it you're just trying to make money, you're just trying to do this so you can sell it? Are you trying to just, be able to sell, get your money back, or make some money in a couple years? Or, like, is this the last home you're going to ever live in? And then you really got to start talking about quality of life. So, maybe that $15,000 sauna, you're not going to get a return on your investment, but it also may help sell that investment. And like that may help your quality of life over the next 20 years, depending on what your, or the pool, or, pools don't get a lot of value like basements, but again, certainly having a finished basement or having a pool in your backyard are going to make the house sell quicker. And again, it boils back to quality of life.
Sure.
So you got to juggle all these.
Yeah, you got to. So if you're interviewing a contractor, you got to think of yourself. Are you going to use this for short term, long term? Is it going to be somewhere where my family's going to be? Are we going to enjoy this? Like, our grandma and grandpa putting a pool in so the grandkids will come over more, right? That may be something. It's not like, hey, honey, we're going to put a pool in so our house is more desirable to sell next summer. No, it's, hey, so we have more people over, we're enjoying it. Again, you're talking about the time if we're having more of those with the people we want with. So, all right, so closing remarks here as we go into this. And I know we folks, we barely scratch the surface on this stuff, and Jeremy is a wealth of knowledge. And again, we're going to have more content about these types of things on the Here We Grow radio show. But what would you leave the people out there listening today? What piece of advice, if they're out there, they're getting ready to either look at buying a home or they're looking at remodeling their home, what should they be paying attention to in the remodel space? Or if they're, housing market's on fire, so they're going to go buy a house, and like, well, honey, it's really easy, and I'm kind of laughing. Oh, we can just remodel this or redo this or redo that. What should they be paying attention to as far as if they're going to hire somebody to do this work? You mentioned about how to find them, but at the end of the day, what's most important when you're bringing out a GC?
I think at the end of the day, just finding somebody that's middle of the road. They're not going to be the cheapest. not necessarily the most expensive, but they have the accreditation. But again, you guys mesh, right? Like I always joke, I come in, I'm like the marriage counselor, you know, for the life of the project, or we are my superintendents, project managers, because there's a lot that goes into this, especially if you deal with a, you know, wife and a husband. Sometimes the husband's the frugal one, and he just doesn't really want to put a lot of money into it. Just, you know, he's doing it because the wife wants it, or sometimes it's the opposite, you know, or sometimes they both have very interest. But hey, like I have a client right now, the backyard, the pool is his, and the inside of the house is hers, you know, and so there's kind of some ebb and flow to the importance. So understanding and how to balance and communicate. But this boils down, you can take this to any business, and I believe this. You need to feel like you're their only client. And if they make you feel like, you know, you're their only client and that they're attentive and it's not just about money to them, then I think you found a good one.
Great advice. Folks out there listening, thanks again for tuning in. Again, this is important stuff that you have to be paying attention to. So if you want more information on this, go to the HereWeGrowRadioshow.com website, and we'll make sure we can get you a link to greater detail of what we were talking about today. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.